Our math warm-up today involves taking a look at 4 statements here on the screen and determining whether each statement is true or false. So go ahead and pause your video, take some time to read those statements to yourself, and then write down on a sheet of paper or a dry erase board whether you think each statement is true or false. So our first statement, a parallelogram can have 1 or 2 pairs of parallel sides, would be false. And the reason would be because it says 1 or 2, it actually has 2. Our second one, a square is also a rectangle and a parallelogram, is true. Our third one, a square is also a rectangle. It looks like I repeated that one, didn't I? So we'll just cross that one out. Apparently I typed it twice. So let's take a look at the last one. A trapezoid always has only 1 pair of parallel sides. And that would be false. Because it might not always be. Our math message today, imagine you want to know the length of 10 of your steps. Write down some reasons that you might want to know this information and how you could figure it out. So go ahead and pause your video and think about that question. So you may come up with your own reasons for that particular statement, but one reason might be that you want to track the distance walked to some particular place, or maybe you want to calculate how long it might take you to walk to a certain location. So there's a couple of reasons that might work for this statement. Our lesson today is called a footstep problem, which has to do with converting measurements. We're doing this lesson today to be able to solve real-world problems by first making sense of them, sticking with them until solved, and becoming precise with our calculations. And how we're going to do that is we're going to take real information and we're going to convert measurements. We're going to calculate numbers and averages with multiplication and division. So in order to start or do this lesson today, we need to understand what it means when we say 1 step, because 1 step for one person might not be the same as it would be for someone else. And there are a lot of variables that go into that, like the size of your foot, for example, or maybe the length of your stride. So when we go to calculate and do the problems that we have that go with this lesson today, we're going to need to set some ground rules. So first of all, we're going to need to have a starting line. So wherever it is that you're going to perform this task today, you're going to need to create a start. So notice I have a start here with this yellow line. We're going to want to make sure that we are using normal walking steps. We're not trying to take big giant steps or teeny tiny ones. We just want a normal step. And we're going to measure from starting line to the end of the toe. So that means if you start here at this yellow line, we're going to measure from there all the way to the longest toe here would be the big toe. So we would measure to right there for that distance. So you're going to take 10 steps. And then how do we figure out what 1 step is? Well, we would need to take our measurements and divide by 10. So that's going to be our magic calculation for figuring out that 1 step. So we're going to divide by 10 to get that 1 step. So as you get into the lesson today, some things that you're going to want to think about and locate and calculate. So that's why I have things to locate, calculate, and think about. So we want to pick a location that we could walk to from our school building. So that means probably going to need to get our hands on a map of the town where we live. And we're going to use that to pick a location, hopefully somewhat close to your school building. Then we're going to figure out how many steps you can walk in 1 minute. So think about, how am I going to do that? How many steps can I walk in 1 minute? You're probably going to need to time yourself and count how many steps that you can walk in 1 minute. How can I use this information to calculate answers to some of my questions when I work on my assignment? So think about how you're going to use that information. And will I need a calculator? Well, you just might. So you're going to want a map of the city that we live in. You're going to pick a location. You're going to want to walk for 1 minute and see how many steps that you can walk. Think about how many miles is it? How many steps is it going to take? All of that information, probably going to need to use a calculator. So you're going to want to explain your calculations, what you did when you go to answer your questions, and make sure that you're including all of that important information. So let's summarize. We will take and measure our average step size to calculate how many steps it will take to walk to a specific destination. Again, it needs to be in the city where we live and go to school. We will take and measure how many steps that we can walk in 1 minute to calculate how long it will take to walk to a specific destination. Do you think I can use this donkey to do my walking? Nah, but it's funny to look at, isn't it? All right, I will see you in class. Have fun.